Scott, thank you for joining us. After a tough battle on Tuesday night, we travelled to Tranmere Rovers this weekend. Can I get your thoughts ahead of that game?
Yeah, another tough game there. They're going well at the moment. They've had some really good results. They beat Wrexham last week, and the week before that they beat Mansfield. So arguably two of the best sides in the division. So Nigel's got them working really hard as a team. You can see when you watch them play that they work really hard for one another, but also working hard for the manager. So fair play to him. But we're also in a really good place, and my team are working extremely hard too. So it should be a really good game.
Yeah, we've had a few days to recover from the Stockport game. You would have had a chance to sort of speak to the lads and have a meeting about it and have a watch back. Is there anything else that you've sort of picked up on since then?
Yeah, from a football point of view, I felt that we could have actually had more control in the game. I think that we probably turned opportunity down to play a little bit more than what I wanted to. So I think that we could have been more in control than we was. We have to respect, obviously, Stockport. They're a very good side. But on reflection, watching it back, really frustrated with two major decisions in the game. There was a clear handball that he didn't give. And their goal was a foul on Will Wright, a real clear foul as well. But what frustrates me is that the referee apparently was his first game in charge of a professional game, which baffles me really, because it was the only game on in Europe. And why are we getting an inexperienced referee to referee a game where there's a team who's going for automatic promotion and a team who's looking to try and get into the playoffs? It's a big game for both teams, right? So for me, having an inexperienced referee in a game like that was a mistake, in my opinion. But listen, we move on, and we look forward to Tranmere. Tranmere is a tough place to go, and again, from a refereeing point of view, I think Tranmere have had more penalties at their stadium than any other team in the division, so we have to be mindful of that as well.
Yeah, it will obviously be a tough game on Saturday. As you said, Prenton Park's always a tough place to go as well. The Tranmere side that we faced earlier in the season, it's very different than the one we're about to face, isn't it? Obviously, Nigel Atkins has only just been appointed at that point. We were victorious on the day, but they're in a very different position now, aren't they? That, as you've already touched on, they're playing a lot better and picking up some very good points, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know if it was Nigel's actually first game in charge, was it? Against us, and we scored quite late on. I think Clyde scored really late on in the game, and we won the game 3-2. So, but Nigel's really got them at it. They've got some real attacking threats. Luke Norris is a big handful up the top of the pitch. Connor Jennings kind of plays just off him. Rob Apter kind of wide right has been good for them. They've got some good defenders as well in Yarni and Turnbull, very good defenders. So they've got good players, really good players. And really speaking, when you look at their positioning in the table, probably doesn't do them any justice at all. They should be, further up the table than they are, and they probably will become end of the season because of what the manager's kind of instilled there. So fair play to him. And we know it's going to be a tough game, but like I say, we're in a really good place as well. We've got so much belief in the camp now. It's great to be around, and we're really looking forward to the trip up there and getting organised for the game.
Yeah, a couple of changes on Monday night. Sorry, I think I said Tuesday night earlier. A couple of changes on Monday night. Is there any sort of plans to sort of fresh things up, as we approach the sort of busy Easter period? We've obviously got the game on Good Friday coming up, and then a game on the Monday as well, which leads us nicely into sort of the business end of the season.
Well, we have to make at least one change, because obviously Jay Williams is unavailable. He goes away for international duty, so we have to make a change there. I think Jay's been brilliant for us, so we're going to miss him, but we've got good players in the squad, so we'll have to at least make one change for that reason alone.
Yeah, just touching on the Jay stuff, it must be frustrating for you to lose such a good player in Jay. Obviously, the last two games he's been captain for us and he's done really well, but equally this is a great opportunity for him, and it shows what a great lad he is, that he wanted to stick around a little bit longer and play on Monday night for us to not miss as many games.
Yeah, I'm really proud of Jay. He was playing for Banbury United last season, and for him to come in and take on the information he's taken on, and to actually go out there and execute it in the manner that he does, and to be a real leader. And I think that he's improved his game as well. I think he's improved kind of in terms of his character as well. I think there was times when he wanted to probably pick too many fights at times, and I think he's settled that right down and become really professional with that, which I'm really pleased to see. And he's been outstanding. Certainly since he come back from a suspension, he's come back and been unbelievable in the middle of midfield as well. And I know he's played in there on his own a lot of the times as well. And, I know the early part of the season he played in there with him and Liam. But certainly since he's been playing in there on his own, I think he's been outstanding for us, arguably our best player. So yeah, we're going to miss him, but like I say, we've got good players who are ready to come in.
Yeah, and a perfect example of that actually is Joy McKenna. He's had to wait a long time for his chance to sort of, have some league action. But, Dion, many would regard as one of the best centre-backs in the league, and Joy's come in and has filled that place, perfectly. And it just shows, doesn't it, that the players that we've got in this squad are taking on the information so well. Yeah,
he's been unbelievable, Joy. I've been really, really pleased with him, and hasn't surprised me actually, because I know he's a really good footballer. I wouldn't have signed him if he wasn't capable of doing what he does, but I think he's improved again under us, and also the fact that he's not played loads of football. He's actually trained really well most days throughout the season. Even when he's not been on the bench and not even been in the squad, he's trained brilliantly, and this is why I say to the players, be ready, because in a minute you never know when you're going to be needed, and all of a sudden Joy finds himself as a regular starter now, and he's done it fantastically well, and he couldn't have done that had he not trained the way he's trained all season. So good for him, and I want to see his progression really continue.
Yeah, and those players are going to be so important, aren't they, for the remaining last 9 games. Joy's a perfect example of when required, players will need to sort of fill in, because despite there only being a few games left, there's going to be injuries. There's going to be all sorts that we're going to have to deal with along the way. Like Harry Forster's come in. As you've touched on in interviews, to keep Nick Cerruda out the side, you've got to be playing very well, and he's done that. So it must fill you with confidence, knowing as we go into these last 9 games that we've got a good squad of players that can all have the impact that we need.
Yeah, I think so. I think what it does is it galvanises what we do on the training ground, and how we keep the boys in the background fresh, and we coach everybody. We make sure everybody keeps interested, and it kind of galvanises that the work that we put in. But no, I've been really pleased with the boys that have come in. Harry Forster's been fantastic for us, as most of them have. Especially in these last 7 or 8 games, whatever it is now. I think the boys have done brilliant. In actual fact, they've been brilliant all season. And I know I've said it before that there's been times when we haven't won games where we haven't played particularly well, but they're a new group. We're gonna have to expect that from time to time when there's ups and downs in the season. It's a long season. They're a young group. They're inexperienced. But in the whole, I'm really pleased.
Thanks, Scott.
Scott, going back to the Tranmere game, September when you played them, what have you seen this week that's markedly different from what they were like in September?
I think that just the togetherness that Nigel's built within the group, I think they look more of a team now than they did before. They look like they're willing to work really hard for one another. They look like they're willing to work really hard for the manager. And he's got them really organised. Like I say, you don't go to Wrexham and win 1-0 if you're not organised. You don't beat Mansfield if you're not organised. They drew at Gillingham as well before that, and before that they beat Sutton, which is always a tough game. So they've been fantastic. He's really got them going now. So it's always a hard place to go as well. Tranmere, it's always a really difficult stadium to play at. The fans get right behind them, especially in that the cop end behind the goal. They really get them going, and fair play to him. He's a good manager, a very experienced manager, and he's obviously doing a really good job at the moment. And I think, like I said to you, with the players that they've got at their disposal, I think that they're probably in a false position. I think they should be further up the table than they are, and I'm sure they will become the end of the season. But like I say, we're also in a really good place ourselves, and the atmosphere at the training ground today was just different class, and I'm really enjoying working at the moment. Very, very enthusiastic about what the future looks like.
Yeah, and will you be asking Nigel for some tips on Mansfield and Wrexham with them coming up?
No, I won't.
Do your own homework.
I do all my homework myself, but now listen, he's a very experienced manager. I really like him as well. I like watching his interviews. Very positive man. So yeah, fair play to him.
Yeah, and also I don't. You'll tell me if there's any change in these, but you could be Jay this weekend, Dion, Ben, Liam. If you had said that at the beginning of the season, they're 4 players that were probably 4 of the first names on your team sheet. But the fact that we're here now and you're potentially missing all 4 of those and that you still feel confident, I mean, it's testament to the recruitment and what you've done with the squad this year, isn't it?
Thank you. Yeah, it is. It is. And the work that we've done on the training ground as well, you know, we've kept all these players really fresh and hungry to become part of the team. And, you know, and the players who have come in have taken that and really taken it as well, you know. So yeah, we're really pleased. Yeah, it's them players who you just mentioned are obviously a big miss for us, and we want them back as quickly as we can. But you know, we're really happy with the way that we're playing at the moment without them. So yeah, you know, long may that continue. Obviously, we want them back as soon as, but no, it's all positive.
Yeah, and talk about Crawley. Obviously, great goal on Monday night. You said after the game that you're possibly relying on him a little bit too much. I know what you meant by that. You're keeping him on longer than you probably feel you should do. Has he kind of exceeded your expectations? I know you obviously thought he was a good player, otherwise you wouldn't have brought him in. But has he exceeded your expectations this year by being as influential as he has been in the last few games?
No, I don't think so. I think that I could always back that he would do what he's done. I felt we had a chat a couple of weeks back, actually, just me and him. We had a moment together where I spoke about why he is playing in League Two when he's got the same attributes as some players that play in the Championship. But the difference is that they have kind of been more aggressive in front of goal and put the ball in the net. And sometimes I think in past, Clyde's been probably accused of maybe trying to walk the ball over the line in certain actions. And we had a chat about it, and I think he's been more aggressive since our little chat. And I've told him that the perfect goal sometimes doesn't exist, you know. And I think that if you look at his goal the other night, when Dan Horsey set him, his first thought was, I'm going to shoot. Whereas I think probably 4 weeks ago he may have had an extra touch, and it might have not been. I think the goal might have closed up on him, you know, and I think that he's now kind of learnt that side of it, that if I do get in a good position, pull the trigger, because, you know, it's like the same old saying, isn't it, when you don't buy a lottery ticket, you don't win the lottery, you know, you don't shoot, you don't score. And I think that he's now kind of become more aggressive in front of goal. And if he adds goals to his game, Clyde's, you know, ceiling it goes up even further. I think he can go, you know, sky's the limit where he can play. But no, I've always thought that he could come into the team and produce the performances that he's produced. I actually thought that he had a quiet night Monday night. Believe it or not, a lot of people would probably disagree with that, but you know, I watched it in real detail, and I felt that there was a lot of times where he come deep for the ball, but Fraser Horsfall kind of followed him in there and was really aggressive with him, and it was hard for him to kind of get in the game. But we spoke about maybe making a change at the top of the pitch, and I thought, no, I need to keep them 2 on, because in a minute one of them will score. When I say we rely on him too much, I probably didn't maybe phrase that properly. What I meant by that is that we know he's such a good player, and he is a game-winning player, that you know you kind of keep him on the pitch, because he may play for 89 minutes and not be in the game, but then bang, goal. Yeah. And that's the type of player he is, you know. So he's done fantastic for us.
Yeah. They're all big games at this time of the season, and I'm looking at Saturday's fixtures, just a couple. Crewe versus Wimbledon, Morecambe versus Gillingham, Stockport versus MK Dons. I know you'll only be focusing on Crawley during the 90 minutes. How quickly afterwards will you be looking at those results?
About 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's just exciting times, isn't it?
Listen, it's great. What we got left? 9 games, is it?
Yeah.
9 games to go, and we're talking about getting in the playoffs. I think it's great.
Yeah,
it's brilliant, because there's a real purpose behind what we're doing, and I feel that when you're in and around the training ground, the lads have unbelievable belief now. You know, I think it's probably not been there as much as it is now, probably apart from me, you know, and I've been the one that's believed in them probably more than they've believed in themselves. But now I think they're really feeling it and thinking, do you know what? We're actually could get in there, you know. And some of them are really talking on a positive note, and I want that. Like, I think you asked me the question a week or so ago about you mentioning like the playoffs a lot, and not a lot of managers mention that. And you're right, they don't. They're scared to probably mention it, and they want to focus on the next game, which we are doing. Don't get me wrong, we're completely focused on the next game. But why can't we talk about what could be and what might be? Because I want the players to feel that there's a belief there, and there certainly is from me. And I think the players have that belief now as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.